Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wilds, Eric Mangini's with us on a Friday morning. Woohoo! Great show for you today. Tons of stuff to get to. Let's start off with this, Coach. You sitting down? Oh, I saw you were, because we're going to ask ourselves, could the Kansas City Chiefs possibly go 16-0? We will discuss. You're never going to guess which team has the best quarterback room in the NFL according to their coach. We'll let you know. And will the Lakers pick up where they left off? But we're going to start this morning in the NFL. First time, long time, we are taking and talking Jets football right off the top. How about this? All-pro safety Jamal Adams has officially requested a trade from the Jets. In other words, he wants out. He took to the gram the other day and said, quote, maybe it is time to move on. So the teams he's reportedly open to be trading to include, here's the list, the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Niners, and the Seattle Seahawks. This all despite the fact that the Jets have come out and said that Jamal is in their future plans, and they do want to try to get an extension done. Nick, there's a lot to dive into here. We're going to start with the Jets side of it. Has this team completely botched this entire situation?
Yes. That's the simple answer. He's the best player on your team. You draft a guy in the top 10 at that position. Your best case scenario is he turns into Jamal Adams. And amazingly, Jamal Adams turned into Jamal Adams since he came into the league. Of all, not just safeties, defensive backs. First in sacks, first in tackles for a loss, second in quarterback hits. He has been a monstrous performer for them. He has been available just like he was in college, basically every game of his career. And the whole reason this entire conflict started was because they flirted with trading him last year, and now they don't want to pay him. The hell are you saving the money for, Jets? Like, I know you hope to want to extend Sam Darnold if he plays well this year. You still have buckets and buckets of money available to you, in theory, to save to pay your best players. Jamal Adams is your very best player. The Jets right now, Coach, should be thinking, we can win the division. We won 7 games. I don't think they can, but they should be thinking it. We won 7 games last year, despite our quarterback coming down with the kissing disease. Tom Brady's gone. Why can't 7-9 turn into 10-6 or 11-5 and we win the division? Instead, they're beefing with their best player because they don't want to pay him the money he's earned. Like, I understand he's under contract. I also understand he's eligible for an extension. And if Jamal Adams hasn't earned the extension early, then nobody can earn the extension early. So I don't know why the Jets are setting up unnecessary hurdles in their path if they want to be a relevant football team again, Coach.
Yeah, it's always good business, Nick, to pay someone 2 years early just because they demand it. And it's you say, what are they saving it for? Well, there typically is a long-term plan in place for every organization, or a plan in place, and you want to be able to go get assets that improve your team, not just pay more for assets that are on your team that you have to pay early just because they want to be paid early. He's already going to be the 13th highest paid safety in the league next year based off his current contract, which has 2 years to go. We saw how well it worked out for the Giants when they paid a guy early because he was unhappy about his situation. That really paid off huge dividends for them. And look at the stats he listed. He's first in sacks and first in tackles for loss. He plays safety, not defensive end. That's part of the system. Greg Robinson blitzes a ton. So to just put him in, like, list those two rushing statistics as the reason you should pay him, it's wrong. It's bad business, and it sets a bad precedent.
Okay, well, let's set the statistics aside. He was first-team All-Pro safety. He's arguably the best safety in football. The precedent part, here's the precedent. If you're first-team All-Pro, if you're the best in the league at what you do, we might pay you early. And again, this idea that, well, he's a box safety and he's a system guy, then you shouldn't have drafted him. The New York Jets during the draft where Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are on the board, and their quarterback at the time was Josh McCown, said Jamal Adams is our guy because they hoped he could turn into this player. And it is the players that outperform their rookie deals get new contracts. And if they don't, the team ruins the relationship with them. Wentz, Goff, Zeke got new deals. You know who didn't from that draft class? Jalen Ramsey. So what happened? Jacksonville had to trade their best player. The Raiders didn't want to pay Khalil Mack, so they had to trade their best player. The entire point of the salary cap dollars, Wilds, is to pay guys like Jamal Adams who have earned it. And by the way, as far as we want to save the money, guys aren't going to want to come to the Jets if you don't, A, start winning, and B, start changing the narrative of your franchise. Moving on, Wilds, from the best player on your team does not help your free agency prospects down the road.
I totally agree, Nick, and I think Jamal Adams has some leverage and he's using it. And don't forget, there's another personal factor here with Jamal Adams. His father was a first-round draft pick, ran for about 900 yards, gets a terrible hip injury, like a Bo Jackson-type injury, is told he's not going to play again. He does come back, plays 4 or 5 more years, but in that time he only compiles about 1,000 yards. So Jamal Adams is on record saying, you know, my father always taught me to play fast and play hard and play aggressive, and that's the best way to avoid injuries. But everyone in the NFL knows it stands for not for long, and there's always a risk of injury. But not everybody grew up with that risk of injury literally in the same house. So I think there's a personal aspect here for Jamal Adams when he talks on his Instagram about protecting himself. I'm all for him getting as much money as possible. He's got the leverage, he's earned it, and he deserves it, Jenna.
Wait.
All right, so that's the Jets side. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, here goes
I'm just saying, so because the Jets made a mistake and didn't draft Patrick Mahomes, now they should pay a safety 2 years early. That was Nick's initial argument. And he said first-team All-Pro. Wasn't Mitch Trubisky first-team All-Pro a couple of years ago? Like, are these the only bars that we're using, Nick? You set this precedent of paying guys early, and you think that it doesn't apply to the rest of the team, but it does. And ownership may not like that philosophy of, okay, we have 5 years worth of a contract, but because he performs as expected, he performs to his contract, we now have to pay him early?
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, just to be fair, and I don't mean to jump on here, Trubisky was not first-team All-Pro, not even close. He was a Pro Bowler. First-team All-Pro is very different. Trubisky never sniffed it. First-team All-Pro means you're the best in the league at what you do. I'm not even – obviously, they should have drafted Mahomes or Watson, but set that aside. They didn't want to draft a quarterback. You drafted a player – believing maybe one day he can be the best in the league at what he does. He already is that. And I think it's a little unfair to do this 2 years left on the contract thing. The rookie contracts, first-round picks, are 4 years with a 5th-year option. That 5th year is there, in theory, if you're unsure, it's like, well, he's been good, but he's been hurt. He's shown flashes. We don't want to give up on him. That not as a hammer to hang over the guy's head. Okay, you disagree. Then why isn't it just 5-year deals? Then why are they just 5-year contracts?
The 5th-year option gives the club the right to extend the contract if the guy is a good player. You have it's a club right. And that's what players get for being drafted in the first round. They get paid more money, and then the team gets an option in the 5th year. And it was all negotiated in the CBA. It's not like anybody was tricked into this setup.
And you know what was also negotiated in the CBA? That after your 3rd year, you're eligible for an extension. After year 2, you're not. Even if you're a first-round pick, even if the team wants to extend you, they are not allowed to by league rule, but they are after year 3. So if we're going to play this, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If the players say, well, it's a team option, well, it's also a team option after year 3 to pay the player. And if the player says, I've earned it, and he clearly has, and you choose not to, you might sour your relationship with your best player so you can save money to give Quincy Enunwa another $8 million a year, which is more brilliant Jet spending as opposed to just Jenna paying your best people. So I know, Jenna, you're going to give us a list of teams you could go to. Hopefully any or all of them would appreciate him more than the Jets do.
Well, you mentioned the Goose. Let us mention the Gander. There are a number of teams that he does want to go to. Baltimore, we mentioned it. Houston, Dallas, KC, Philly, San Francisco, Seattle. Nick, I'll throw it back to you. Which of those teams' Super Bowl hopes are boosted, and boosted, I'd say, heavily by adding a guy like Jamal Adams?
Listen, I think they'd all become better teams by adding Jamal Adams, but I think there's 4 of those teams you can just cross off the list. Baltimore already has Earl Thomas. You're not going to have the 2 highest paid safeties in football on your team. Dallas already has the highest paid wide receiver, running back. They might soon have the highest paid quarterback, highest paid inside linebacker. I don't know that they can add another super expensive player. Houston, listen, I'm sure the Jets are calling up Bill O'Brien and like, oh man, 4 first-round picks, here they come. But they don't have the first-round picks to trade. And Kansas City needs the money, needs the cheap draft picks because they're about to pay Patrick Mahomes. So to me, Philly has the need, the money and the picks. San Francisco has the need, not necessarily the need. Their defense is great, but safety might be their weakest spot on the defense. They have the money and the picks, and Seattle, coach, has the need, the money, and the picks. So of those 7, those 3 teams, to me, coach, would be the most viable.
In any trade agreement, you do need the players' buy-in on the trade because the contract has to get done on the other side. But the player needs to understand that the best offer may not come from his team's wish list. So now not only do you want to get traded, not only do you want to get paid, but there's only a certain amount of teams that you want to get traded to and paid by. That's unrealistic. If you want out, and that's really your priority because you need to get a new contract, then you better be able to or willing to open it up to the whole league, because the deal at that point, if the Jets want to do that, has to make sense for the club.
So that's what I was going to say, Coach. It feels like I'll take the field. I know I like the wish list. They're great teams. I'd want to play for those teams too. But I bet if he does get moved, he ends up somewhere else.
A healthy lifestyle should be easy, right? Eat veggies, drink green smoothies, exercise, get your heart rate up, and do yoga to bring your heart rate back down. Well, maybe not so easy, but there is something that helps improve everything, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. It's sleep. Sleep Number knows what it takes to sleep your best. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed lets you choose your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, your Sleep Number setting. It's the perfect solution for couples. These beds are so smart, they respond to your every move and automatically adjust to keep you sleeping comfortably all night. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, during the lowest prices of the season sale, save $400 on Queen Sleep Number 360 C4 Smart Bed. Now, only $12.99. You'll only find Sleep Number at Sleep Number stores or by visiting www.sleepnumber.com.
Back here, first things first, you know, some of our other favorite sports may be on hold, but horse racing still running strong. Live coverage of top-tier races on both FS1 and FS2 throughout June. Horse racing from top tracks across the country all month long. Visit americasbestracing.net/strong to learn more. Wilds, you love this. Tell me why.
Yes. Well, first of all, you can get warmed up with the Belmont coming up this weekend. Nick, Tiz the Law is the main horse, the main favorite. He's been trained by the same group that trained Funny Side. I always like when there's like a lineage of horses. They're not direct lineage, but like same stable and same, trainer and everything. But Nick, one for you, since you spent yesterday talking about art history. Modernist is a good horse, 15-1. So since you're an art guy, maybe Modernist is your pick.
Well, okay, so first of all, I love the gambling pick by you, Wilds. And speaking of the races, so this year, obviously, the schedule's a little different. We got the Belmont, as you mentioned, this weekend, the Kentucky Derby on September 5th and then the Preakness is on October 3rd. So this weekend, Jenna and you, Wilds, and Coach, you're in Cleveland. You guys are out of town. We can't get together. October 3rd happens to be my birthday, and there's no chance I can spend it with the three of you. That does mean, though, that means the Kentucky Derby on September 5th. Let's all get together and watch the races. That's a legitimate, true invite. Coach, you're going to have to fly in from Cleveland. Jenna will charter you a private jet, and you can come to my house. September 5th,
right.
my house. Coach, you could maybe sleep over, Coach. No. Stay till September 10th to watch the defending Super Bowl champions kick off the season. Chiefs-Texans, September 10th. But so we could have a whole week together.
It's like a dream week.
Okay, it's great.
This is a transparent invitation. We always get these empty invitations. No one ends up at Nick's house with catered food watching TV. Never, ever.
I'll be there.
Does Jenna know what transparent means?
I don't think. I'm not sure.
Time now for drawing a blank. Cardinals second-year quarterback Kyler Murray, far and away the most popular guy on the team, reportedly paying for a 21-player gathering in Dallas. It will include travel, food, bowling, golf, all expenses paid, totaling over $40,000, and it's all in the name of team bonding. Nick, Kyler Murray footing the bill for a Cardinals team trip. Full transparency, I wouldn't do this. Is blank.
There you go.
I do.
Jenna, you used it right there. That was well done. This is money well spent. This is money well spent. And by the way, a lot of boom for your buck there. 21 players, golf, football, travel, lodging, and it's only 40 racks. Best I could tell, that's what Jenna's paying for her cabin in the woods for the summer for just her wife and children. So, I mean, good for Kyler. I feel like I've seen a lot of rookie quarterbacks have to spend $40,000 on a dinner when they stick them with the bill and they get all the Louis XIV and the expensive liquor. Great job by Kyler. Great money management by Kyler. Coach, this is money well spent.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. This is inexpensive team building, and I want his travel agent. The idea that you can move 21 people and have that type of weekend or time together for $40K it's unbelievable. That's like one dinner with Nick. We'll set you back about half that. So and I would imagine that they're probably going to end up making money on this weekend by somehow parlaying either some sort of sponsorship aspect to this. But it's a great idea.
Coach.
It's fantastically or fantastically put together from an expense standpoint.
Yeah, the money doesn't make any sense. One note, it's not golf, it's Top Golf. So it's not a full 18 holes of golf. Bowling itself, if you've ever taken like a team building bowling, you look at the bill for bowling, and bowling's like $2,000 for 10 people. That doesn't work. I went Brady times 5. Brady used to take Hall of Famer Julian Edelman out to Montana to throw the old pigskin around. That was great, but now Kyler's taking 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 9 wide receivers, and 4 tight ends. It's a tremendous gesture. I feel like they should have brought a center or like some offensive linemen too. Maybe this whole thing backfires to the offensive lineman. Like, why didn't we get a play?
By the way, he sent out 21 invitations. All 21, not surprisingly, said yes. On to Chicago, where Bears quarterbacks coach John DeFilippo recently said, quote, "We're the best quarterback room in the National Football League." So just to make sure we're all on the same page here, that room includes Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles and not Jim McMahon. Nick, DeFilippo saying we're the best quarterback room in the NFL is blank.
Mitchell-esque, but not Mitchell Trubisky-esque. Freddie Mitchell-esque. You guys remember old Fred X? The ultimate irrational confidence guy? Like, we all respect the semi-irrational confidence guys. My guy J.R. Smith is one of those guys. But at some point, the irrational confidence becomes just total delusions. And you're like, are you okay? And John DeFilippo saying, we have the best quarterback room in the NFL. I haven't checked Northwestern's depth chart, but I'm not sure they have the best quarterback room in the city of Chicago, much less the entire NFL. So this is Freddie Mitchell-esque. It is a bridge too far, even if you're just trying to build guys up, Coach.
Yeah, I saw this as being Tony Robbins-esque, where it's not just the power of positive thinking. With Tony Robbins, it's about understanding your situation and then making the best of it, and that's what he's trying to do here. I agree with you, Nick, that there is a he's really stretching far to get to this comment, but I like it. If he's not a fan of his guys, who's gonna be?
You know, Nick, I know you value take integrity, and I value honesty, and I have to be honest. Dusty, our esteemed researcher, and I had a plan to stab you in the back because we knew you were going to be all mad at Chicago and be like, hey, let's prove that they're actually better than the Chiefs quarterback. Like, wouldn't that be great? And then Dusty did the graphic, and it didn't work. And I have to admit it. 19 games versus 14 games. Still fewer passing yards. The touchdowns are still terrible. The interception's not fair because we're trying to combine them, Dusty. We should in the past. It's just I thought we'd get total yards or something. So I got to be honest, that didn't work for us.
Yeah, that's a terrible job by you, Wiles. You should have known better.
I loved it, though. On to some unfortunate news now for the 49ers. Their second-year wideout, Deebo Samuel, suffered a broken foot on Tuesday during a throwing session. He'll undergo surgery. He's expected to miss 12 to 16 weeks. Nick, after Deebo's broken foot, the Niners' Super Bowl chances are now blank.
Look, I don't want to overstate it, but I'll say greatly diminished for a couple of reasons. One is wide receiver was already arguably the weak point on the entire roster. Emmanuel Sanders is gone, and now Deebo Samuel is out, at least a few months. Jones' fracture could put him out for the year. So that makes their ability to not only win their division, but get the 1 seed as they did last year. Incredibly, it lowers that ability. It makes it far less likely, I should say. And keep in mind, this year, the 1 seed more important than ever because only the 1 seed gets a bye, and you got to deal in that division with Seattle, with the Cardinals, who should be better, and with the Rams, who won't be terrible even if they're no longer a Super Bowl contender. So I just think this is brutal for them. The only person this is good for is George Kittle, who is negotiating for a new contract, and now they even desperately more need him. Now, I'm sure Coach would say George Kittle's got to earn it. He shouldn't be paid. In fact, he should offer to pay them to play. But if you're Kittle's agent, you're maybe making an extra phone call. But for the Niners, their Super Bowl chances are greatly diminished, Coach.
Yeah, I'm still stunned that Dusty and Kevin had to do the math on the Trubisky Foles versus Mahomes exercise. I don't know.
You say so, bro.
That was, like, really? You guys had to go through that process? But besides that, to me, this has mildly affected their chances. The injury puts them on the plus side right there at the start of the season, and on the downside, it's a little bit into the season. But this is a team that through I forget how many passes, 10, 12 in the NFC Championship game. So it hasn't been a team that's relied on the passing game, and this is another situation where you've got to deal with the post Super Bowl hangover first, outside of any of the other things that come up. That's the biggest hurdle they have to overcome.
Look, I wrote exactly the same. Jones' fracture is terrible, but when you look at what Deebo tweeted, I started to get fired up. He tweeted 10 weeks, I'm back better than the Deebo you've seen before. So he's far more optimistic than everyone else, and I tend to believe him.
All right, on to the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs now. So our friends over at Fox Bet are giving the Chiefs the best odds to go 16-0 this year, ahead of the Ravens and ahead of the Niners.
Oh, boy.
Coach, I know I'm playing with fire here, but the chances of the Chiefs going a perfect 16-0 are blank.
Already a reality in Nick's mind. Nick has already made this a fact. It's not even debatable. But look, it's happened 1972, and then close to 35 years later when New England went undefeated, and then they couldn't capitalize on the Super Bowl. It's not like breaking the 4-minute mile where once one team does it, it's easy to do. It's happened so rarely for a reason, and I don't know if Kansas City can come back from 35-point deficits every game and go 16-0.
Oh.
Nick, I wrote less than 0, and it's not because I don't believe you guys can do it. I actually think you could. But if I had my druthers and I could take the DeLorean back to our 18-0 season, I don't know what happened in the Super Bowl. I have to still watch it. It's on my DVR. But on the 18-0 season, I wish that we had lost to the Giants in Week 17. I just feel like there's too much pressure. We showed the Giants too much stuff. So I think you've got the Saints Week 15. So if you're 14-0 at that point, like, I think you should lose purposely to the Saints. So 0% for me.
Okay, so give me some room here to breathe because there's a lot of things to discuss here. Coach said it's already a reality in Nick's world. That is false. The Chiefs, I already told you, are going 14-2 this year. The coach, that's part of the laminated schedule I sent you with all the wins, losses. So, that's a reminder you need to study up on the schedule. I do believe that. And let me give credit to the two other undefeated teams. 72 Dolphins. First. That's offense and defense, points, yards, across the board. The 07 Patriots, first in all offensive categories, top 5 in all defensive categories. I do not think the Chiefs necessarily have the defense to do something like that. But my answer is this. The chance the Chiefs go a perfect 16-0 are September 28th dependent. That is the Week 3 game against Baltimore. All right? I think they're going to lose that game. But if they win that game, they've got cupcakes where they will be massively favored until that Week 15 game at New Orleans. If they are undefeated Wilds going into that Week 15 game at New Orleans, two things will have happened. One, they will have just eclipsed Coach Mangini's 03-04 Patriots for the longest winning streak in NFL history. It'll be their 22nd win in a row at Miami. And undefeated will absolutely be on the board. So if they beat Baltimore, I believe we're going to be having this discussion throughout the season because I don't see another losable game until Week 15 at New Orleans. So that's the hinge game right there. Week 3, September 28th of this upcoming season.
Lucky us. Mangini, we're going to have this discussion rest of the season. To the NBA now with 22 teams all gathering in Orlando. Will there be some tampering going on, which might lead to the next great dynasty? Next on First Things First. Friday Night SmackDown is all new every week on Fox. Tonight, newly crowned Intercontinental Champion AJ Styles celebrates his win. We're going to find out who his first opponent will be. SmackDown tonight, 8, 7 Central, only on Fox. Back here, First Things First with Chris Broussard. Talking some hoops. Check out the most recent pictures of LeBron James floating around the internet. Good to see the King back on the court, getting some work in at a recent open run. Broussard, the return of the NBA just 6 weeks away. Will LeBron and the Lakers pick up where they left off as the hottest team in the NBA, in your opinion?
I don't think they'll pick right off. Look, the Lakers were playing great basketball all year. Remember, they started 24-3. Other than this little 4-game losing streak in the middle of the season, they were playing tremendous basketball the whole way through. I have no doubts about LeBron James. He looked like a slimmer Kimbo Slice in those pictures. But no problem, no questions about LeBron. I bet physically and mentally he is in as good a shape as anybody in the league and maybe in the best shape. So he'll be fine. The questions are other players. Avery Bradley is wildly important to this team because of his perimeter defense and his three-point shooting. And Dwight Howard, we know what he brought to them off the bench. Where are they at mentally? Where are their minds at? I'm sure they'll play, but are they focused? Will they be ready? And then Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma has always been, the whole season, it was like, can we get Kuz to accept his role? Can we get Kuz to understand playing winning basketball? 4 months away is not going to necessarily help that. So where is Kuzma when he comes back mentally? Because look, LeBron and AD 1 and 2, nobody in the league can beat that. But when I look at the Clippers and some other teams, it's their depth that they may have that could give the Lakers some issues. So what's the Lakers' depth going to look at like? That's really the only question.
Nick, I'm a little bit worried as you're the resident Lakers fan on the panel. I'd be a little bit worried about the Lakers gauntlet that they could be facing here. If we could throw it up, look, I think the Trailblazers are going to sneak into that 8th spot. So then you got Damian Lillard and CJ to deal with. Then I think the Jazz are going to fall, the Rockets are going to rise. Now you got James Harden. There could even be like seed manipulation with the Rockets saying like, boom, let's push, let's get right to the Lakers, like let's try to get them right out of the bat. And then you got Kawhi and Paul George. So I think the reward for the #1 seed is actually a pretty daunting gauntlet.
So listen, that would be what you have laid out there. That would be the toughest possible path, and I totally get that. It's also, though, in play that in the first round they have the Grizzlies, in the second round they have the Thunder, and in the third round they have the Nuggets. Everyone's just assuming the Clippers are going to get there. I need to see it to believe it. But even if the Clippers do get there, they could be facing the Rockets in round 2. They also could be facing, as you mentioned, Utah, Oklahoma City. We'll see how that shakes out. They can't control that. But here's what they can control. They have the single best leader in the entire sport in LeBron, and they have a very veteran team. Both of those things, in my mind, position them as well as a team can be positioned for this unprecedented circumstance. They also, unlike Broussard's beloved favorite team from childhood, it would appear, Los Angeles Clippers, they didn't make massive changes at the deadline. They know exactly who their team is. Markieff Morris is the only real buyout addition they made as far as someone that's going to play rotational minutes. Aside from that, they know exactly what they're doing. And because unlike the Clippers or the Rockets or any other team in the West that could be jostling for seeding, the Lakers, Broussard, are going to be the 1 seed no matter what. So that means they can treat these 8 games in a different way than any of these other teams can. They can just basically use them as tune-ups for the postseason because they don't have to worry about falling into a position where it's like, oh, man, we don't want to play Houston in round 1 or we don't want to play the Clippers in round 1, whatever it is. So for all those reasons, I feel they are as well positioned as a team can be. You, meanwhile, look like you just bit into a bad peach. So what happened there?
The Clippers fear no one, Nick. All right, they're not jostling for position. They're not worried about that. When they come, look, there's probably going to be some load management for the Clippers, believe it or not. All right, because you're playing every other day, and that's when the knee, could bother Kawhi. We'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. What they're going to be doing is trying to make sure, like you said, they made some additions. Reggie Jackson is even in the rotation as they get into the playoffs, but they'll work him in, see how he can play. And, of course, Marcus Morris, get him accustomed to his role. Not so much worried about Joakim Noah. Here's the key, because I still think it boils down to the Lakers and the Clippers. Will LeBron be able to be fully aggressive? The first 2 games when they lost to the Clippers, he wasn't really aggressive. I was baffled by that. But what it was is that the Clippers' perimeter defense, they can throw Kawhi, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, now Marcus Morris, and it can help. And they were able to keep LeBron from constantly driving into the paint. That was a problem for the Lakers in the fourth quarters of the first 2 games. He totally solved that in the third game. And if LeBron can't live at the rim in the fourth quarter against the Clippers, Anthony Davis is going to have to step up. He was doing it toward the end of what was the season, getting better in the fourth. But for the most part, he was not the fourth quarter killer that they needed. He was averaging like 3 points most of the season in the fourth quarter. They're going to need more than that.
All right, let's put the Lakers aside for a second and talk some tampering. With Ethan Strauss, the columnist from The Athletic, saying, quote, one NBA staffer told me, oh, it will be Tamper-palooza in Orlando, that's for sure. Similar to how players plotted future alliances during Olympic and FIBA tournament runs, expect a dynasty or 2 to be concocted down in Orlando. Back to you, Broussard. What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting. Look, it won't be immediate. I mean, the top 4 teams with cap space, and we'll see what that looks like in, with this pandemic. But the top 4 teams with cap space aren't even in Orlando: Atlanta, New York, Detroit, Charlotte. So you're really looking at the future. Look at Miami. That's the team I'd be concerned about. Obviously, you've got the great city in Miami. You've got the great history with the championships. You got the championship coach in Eric Spoelstra. And it's a team that with one additional star could really take the next level and be a real legitimate contender. That's the team I'd watch for. As far as the young teams, the young guys don't really want to team up yet. They're concerned with making themselves superstars, establishing themselves as stars, getting their max deals. And they also think at this point they can do it on their own. It's usually 7 years in or so when guys start realizing, okay, I need to team up with a star. And that's when the tampering comes in.
That's interesting, Broussard. I didn't think about that. Like, right now, everyone's like, well, maybe guys will come to where I am versus like, oh, it looks like I'm going to have to hit the road. I think tampering rules in general for the front office are an absolute farce, and everybody knows it. I've got 2 quotes here. The first one, Magic famously got hit for talking about Paul George on Kimmel, and then he had this one talking about Giannis. He's going to be an MVP, a champion. The dude, he's going to put Milwaukee on the map, and I think he's going to bring them a championship one day. Boom, got hit, $50K. Then you can get hit for tampering with your own team. The Bucks GM got fined $50 grand for a fan Q&A where he says, I can't negotiate anything. Giannis, basically a year from now, will be eligible for a Supermax. And at that time, of course, he will be offered a Supermax, which everybody on the entire planet knew. Still, the NBA came down and said, no, Bucks, you're going to be fined $50K for tampering with your own franchise player, which is just mind-boggling. So, look, on the player side, it's not even tampering. It's just we're going to see personal relationships form inside of Orlando that we normally wouldn't. And you see Durant go, first of all, Nick, your Heatles, that was based off of the Olympics. Durant going to Warriors based off of the Olympics. And then when Durant and Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan hooked up, that was also based off a relationship in the Olympics. So I do expect something to happen. I think it'll be interesting. But overall, tampering is just a load of hogwash.
So, Wilds, all of that was, I think, brilliantly executed with one small exception. I think Durant going to the Warriors was not based off the Olympics. I think it was based off a sobbing Draymond Green calling him right after LeBron had snatched his soul in the finals and begging him to come. But I might have my history a little wrong there. Maybe they set the template for it in the Olympics. I don't quite remember exactly how that went. But I do think something like that happened. All right, listen, this is all about Giannis. And I think Broussard got it exactly right as far as the Miami Heat and their pursuit of Giannis. And while I don't know how they could plausibly make it happen, the Lakers signed his brother for a reason. And I'm sure if you're John Horst, if the Milwaukee Bucks, you would rather be staying at the yacht club than at Grand Destino, because you look at who else is at Grand Destino and you're like, oh, Miami and the Lakers. That's kind of a bummer. I think they'd rather have Giannis staying at the Ramada Inn than at the Grand Destino, where those guys can be in his ear. And so I think Miami is the under-the-radar play if Giannis is to leave. Now, I don't want him to leave. I think he's going to stay. I think the Bucks are going to make the finals, losing a tough 6 to the Lakers, and he'll end up signing an extension. But Broussard, I do think Pat Riley in Miami are a specter that kind of looms over the entire, potential Giannis sweepstakes.
Yeah, there's no question. And the team that people feel are missing out is Golden State. But here's the issue. I don't think they're missing out because they don't have money. We've talked about this before. How in the world could they get the money to get a Giannis? They're going to have to trade Clay if they would, I think, to get Giannis. Oh. And I don't know that that's happening. So I don't think Golden State loses out on this because they don't have any cap room.
I'm glad you've seen. I thought you were going to say they could trade Wiggins 1 for 1. Sorry, Jenna. With how much Broussard loves Wiggins these days, I thought he was going to say Golden State misses out. Everyone sees Wiggins.
As a fourth option.
I just Giannis 1 for 1 straight up. Oh my God, Jenna, please take it. We can't argue. We can't argue about it.
Let's take a break. Get back to football, where Gronk is the latest Buck to reveal his new digs. Next on First Things First.
Yeah, this one hurt my feelings.
Love those uniforms.
This weekend, NASCAR returns to Talladega. Tomorrow it's Xfinity Series racing at 5:30 Eastern on FS1. Then Sunday on Fox, catch the Geico 500, 3 Eastern. Both races also on the Fox Sports app. All right, gentlemen, Eric Mangini back with us. Time for stories to start your morning. And check out Rob Gronkowski literally putting on his new Tampa Bay Buccaneers gear. First, it was Brady. Now Gronk. What's next? All the players on the Bucs get uniforms? Nick, how happy, though, does this specifically make you?
Oh, I'm agnostic on this. I like Gronk. I hope Gronk has a nice season in Tampa. I'm a little concerned given how he looked his final season in New England, but maybe the year away from football will have done him well. I'm more concerned and intrigued by Wildes on this one because yesterday Wildes said something very interesting, which is Brady wearing the new Bucs uniform didn't faze him, but Gronk will bother him immensely. Is that out of disloyalty to Brady, Wildes? Is that out of love for Gronk? Like, I want to hear your answer on this. To me, this is a fascinating dynamic playing out right now.
You're just kind of like, it's like when if you're like absorbing a punch. When you see the punch coming, you're like, oh, I'm going to get punched. And you're like, you brace, you get hit in the arm. Maybe a baseball pitch would be a nicer thing to talk about. But then when you see one that you just get like, boom, like shot in the stomach. Again, a baseball pitch, I don't know why I'd get hit in the stomach with a baseball pitch. It just hurts more. I just wasn't braced for Gronk in Tampa Bay. We all knew Tom Brady.
I'll buy that.
This one sits wrong, though. I don't love this one, to be 100% honest. It's a bad way to start a Friday.
Yeah, well, Kevin, for about 20 years, you haven't been punched at all. If anything, you've been punching the rest of the league. So in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty small hit to take. And unfortunately, he might have to get used to taking a lot more.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
punched in the basketball.
Stick it to him.
All right. On to Hard Knocks and the news I've been waiting for all year, the next subject of the greatest show on television. Hard Knocks will be a behind-the-scenes look at the L.A. Chargers and the L.A. Rams, and that'll debut on August 11th. Coach, 2 for the price of 1. Lucky us. Any specific player or coach or moment that you're excited to see on this season's Hard Knocks?
No, this one's going to be rough all the way around. I've never been a big fan of Hard Knocks from a organizational standpoint. Bringing it in, I know that may shock you guys that I wasn't a big fan of that. But now trying to navigate through this with COVID and all the unknowns that are going to go into this training camp, it's going to be must-see TV. It's going to be incredible to watch.
Coach, could you imagine, before the segment started, I'd say, Coach, have you ever been on Hard Knocks? And he's like, no, I wouldn't be on it. Nick, would you be on Hard Knocks if you were a coach? Would you embrace the warmth of the spotlight?
I think I would enjoy it. I do think I would have a hard time cutting the players on camera. It seems like such a brutal thing to have to do. Tell a guy it's worst moment of his life, potentially, and to have to tell him that knowing the cameras are rolling and knowing that the worse he takes it, the more likely it gets aired. I think maybe under the radar factor here, the Chargers, they need market share in Los Angeles. They need people to pay attention to them in Los Angeles. Their coach just the other day slightly opened the door to them being a team to bringing Colin Kaepernick. If you want to truly capture the nation's intrigue and imagination, and certainly in LA, you're going to have the national spotlight via Hard Knocks. If instead of it just being Tyrod Taylor, Easton Stick, and Justin Herbert, if Cap is in that room as well, then I think it becomes even more must-see television, and the Chargers have a chance of becoming a team in LA that the local Los Angelinos care about. So maybe an extra factor on the Hard Knocks side of things there, Jenna.
Nick, I was going to say the exact same thing. Bring Cap in. Wait till you see ratings goes up. All right. Some fancy footwork on point. Check out Stefon Diggs. I watched this, honestly, about 5 times. Look at this footwork. That's insane. How quickly he's moving, the speed, the agility, all of it. I love this stuff. Nick, what do you expect out of Diggs? This is his first season up in Buffalo. What do you want to see out of him?
Listen, I think Stefon Diggs' footwork's going to be amazing. I think his hands are going to be amazing. I'm just worried about his voice going hoarse from having to yell at Josh Allen for skipping balls in the dirt and throwing them over his head. But I am endlessly entertained by Jenna consistently being amazed that the best athletes in the world are the best athletes in the world. Every time we have a pro athlete working out, she's like, look at how good they are at these things. It's so different than when I'm working out with Marnie. I can't believe it.
What I
it's
said.
Stefon bleeping Diggs. The hell did you expect? Go ahead, Wild.
Coach,
Go
I don't know,
Wilds.
is it Rocky 3 where Sylvester Stallone goes to like Siberia? I'm interested. Everyone's got these nice weather workouts. I'm interested in the
Rocky
cold
4.
Antarctica
Rocky
workout I'd like
4.
to see. It's Rocky 4? Rocky 4? I get my Rocky
Yes.
4. Cold weather workout.
Yeah, look, just getting back to Hard Knocks with Nick, I think we'd have to rename it, Nick, if you were on it. It'd be like No Knocks because everybody would just get a raise if you were in charge. But with this video, with this video, Nick's not going to like this either because it actually is a football-specific drill. He only likes the drills where they're like, you know, jumping off a cliff or doing a 360
well, you got
dunk.
good news coming up.
Anything not related to football. Nick will
Great
celebrate
call.
800
Next
times
clip.
over.
Coach doesn't have
Speak
a
it into
format in front of him.
existence, Coach, because here we go. The cheetah throwing down. That star wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, very athletic. All 5'10" of him. Now, he plays what sport? Oh, football. But he is playing which sport? Oh, basketball. Coach, right back to you. Patrick Mahomes got in trouble for playing hoops. You okay with what you're seeing from Tyreek Hill?
Well, this is the sort of way that you go 16-0 is you start training in ways that other teams don't, and you're always setting that bar, that edge. But yeah, look, you want to take chances like this, you can take chances like this, and hopefully it works out for you and you don't get hurt.
Look, I know we're in the era of the three-pointer, but he was not taking that three, Nick. I think this is just terrible, terrible defense. It's an obvious fake, and he's going to go and dunk on you. I don't know why you bid on that.
You're absolutely right. It wasn't even that good of a jump step or a jab step. Listen, to Coach's point, I was a little concerned as well that when he came down from the dunk, he might twist his ankle slipping on his Super Bowl ring. I mean, I don't know, Coach. Seemed like whatever Tyreek Hill's doing has worked out just fine. 3rd and 16 in the Super Bowl. How about we run Wasp down 10 to sting the Niners and win the damn football game? Tyreek Hill can train however the hell he wants as long as he's defending champion Tyreek Hill, Coach.
Well, he's not going to be slipping on his 6 Super Bowl rings, that's for sure.
Oh, my God.
Ending with a little like Mike. Jamie Foxx said he's bulking up to 216 pounds to play Mike Tyson in a biopic. Found out this morning Wilds is a diehard Jamie Foxx fan. Who knew?
Oh, yeah.
Wilds, you excited about this?
I am, and there's a great clip on the internet of Jamie describing the opening scene of this movie. Jamie's going to play Mike Tyson. You go check that out. Here's the other thing. Jamie Foxx, 52. So I don't know if we're going to have some Irishman Netflix-style, like, de-aging process to get young Mike Tyson, too. But Jamie Foxx, one of America's greatest performers and greatest entertainers, greatest all-around guys.
Maybe the most talented all-around man in Hollywood, Jamie Foxx. He's absolutely the perfect person for this role. He already has 1 Oscar. He probably deserves a couple of them. I'm excited to see it, Coach. Coach, you and me, when the theaters open back up, we can go see it together.
I think it'd be fantastic. I love Mike Tyson. I love Jamie Foxx. I don't really know how they're going to make it work for a young Mike Tyson. Kevin, I share your concern there.
Yeah, it's like De Niro effect.
Very big concern. We'll all look forward to it. Guys, we got to go. Guess what? We are back here Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Stay
Happy
safe.
Juneteenth, everybody.
Everyone.